with you here on a Friday afternoon. Michael Borky there in the studio. This is Brian Haydad, of course. And now we're going to be joined for the first time since he arrived here in the state of Mississippi, the new athletic director for Mississippi State. Zac Selmon joins us on the Farm Bureau guest line. Zac, before we talk facilities, vision, anything of that nature, I've been wanting to ask you one question since your first press conference. I have to know why your youngest daughter is called Meatball.
Hey, that's a fair question, Brian. Thanks for having me on. From an early age, she was always had a little spicy attitude and really sassy, no neck, really big kind of afro. So we just said, hey, you look kind of like a meatball, and it stuck. And still to this day, every morning I ask her, do you still want me to call you Meatball? And she loves it. Her principal calls her Meatball. So the origin started when she was just probably 7-8 months old. We could tell she was a little spicy.
That's a great nickname, just off the bat. I want to let you know, I give you full credit for that. That's good stuff. So in Oklahoma, the Selmons are like royalty. That is the royal family of Oklahoma football. I don't know if Mississippi State really has a family like that. I would say, obviously, with Ole Miss, you have the Mannings. What is it like growing up in a family like that with that kind of love and attention around your dad and your uncles? And then how hard was that to walk away from to come to Mississippi State?
Now, growing up in our family, you never really thought anything was special or out of the ordinary. You just knew that we had some great role models, great men in our family, and not just the ones that played football, but there was 3 older brothers as well that were all great role models to us and great women. So we never saw it as, hey, they're great football players, all that. And I think probably later on in my life, I started to realize really how special what they did was as football players. And a lot of it's just by circumstance. And my dad and my Uncle Leroy are 11 months apart, but they were raised as twins and have another brother, Lucius, that's only a couple years older. So just by circumstance, they could all play. And it's really hard to do, to be able to have 3 brothers that, make up a defensive line in a 3-5 defense. So I realized how special it is, but really thankful for their example they always showed us. But one of the things they always taught us, too, was you can use the game of sport. You can use the vehicle of intercollegiate sports to do a lot of great things. I mean, my Uncle Leroy went and was the AD at the University of South Florida, and I remember spending a lot of time with him when they were starting the football program there. Their offices were trailers, and just kind of getting it started with Coach Levitt. And just realized that really opened my eyes that, again, doesn't matter the place. It just matters that you have the ingredients around you where you have, higher education and sport and a pivotal time in young people's lives. So that's kind of why I loved Mississippi State. And at first, it was my first conversation with Dr. Keenum to tell how he was a man of integrity and how genuine he was. One of the most passionate fan bases I've ever been around. And clearly, being able to compete at the highest level. And I love the fact we have a great challenge in getting to compete in the SEC.
You left a school in Oklahoma that, we could easily say is the top dog in the Big 12 conference and a school where, there's so much history and tradition. And then you come to Mississippi State, a school that, has to kind of scrap for everything it gets in the SEC and has done a fantastic job through the years of punching above its weight. What was your first impression of Mississippi State from a facility standpoint when you arrived on campus? Were you pleasantly surprised?
Yeah, very much so. I think the bones of our facilities are really good. I've worked at a handful of institutions and played at a Wake Forest where I've seen where some other kind of a wide range of facilities. But stepping on campus here really was pleasantly surprised of the bones and the vision that many people before I got here have had. And so I think we'll be in a very good setup and be in a very good position for where we need to go with the facilities and understanding that just the changing landscape of how we operate. We know we'll have to be flexible and be nimble, but I think we're in a really good spot for right now with some. I already had a meeting this week about where we're at with our facilities and master plan, and really excited about, again, where we're at now, but no, we got some bold plans for the future that we'll have to just make sure we take our right steps and get those done.
You use that word vision, and I feel like when people interview athletic directors, especially, first few months on the job, that word gets thrown out there a lot, and people want to talk about, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. What's something that you'd like to have done short term, something that you think Mississippi State can accomplish in the first year of your tenure as athletic director?
Yeah, my main focus right now is to get to know our people and get to know our student athletes. So I look at it as year one, a big goal of mine is just to bring our department, bring our programs more connected. I think if we've all learned anything in life, and specifically after COVID, is we all long for connection and being part of something that's bigger than ourselves, and we have that here. And so for me to get connected with people, I first got to know their names, know their stories, hear where they're coming from. So that's going to be probably my number one goal over the first year. If you can sit here and, what is it today, the January 27th of 2024, if you can ask me, hey, is the department, is the program, is everybody more connected? And we could say yes, then I would be very happy and feel good about the progress we've made.
People who listen to this show or people who listen to the Thunder and Lightning podcast, one of the things I talked about during the search for an athletic director was I would have gone outside the Mississippi State family. I would have brought in someone, I think the quote I used was, the first time they come to Mississippi State is for the interview. They had never been here before. And you really fit the bill for that for me. When you talked to Dr. Keenum as part of the interview process, did he discuss, new ideas and new blood at Mississippi State being something he was attracted to?
Yeah, we didn't go into that level of probably detail about what specific ideas or whatnot. It was very much so like how we see leadership, how we see organization, how we see our core values. So we talked about some things I think are critical for the success of a department and critical for the success of an institution. But I think there was both a mutuality that we knew that we want to achieve success at the highest level. And I think that means a lot of different things depending on what lens you're looking through. So not just athletic success, but academic success and success off the field, success and just being a better person, being better in the community. So we spent a lot of times on that and how we programmatically how you can build an athletics department and morph it into something that can do great things just like our entire institution is.
You were a student athlete yourself, played college football at Wake Forest, as you mentioned earlier. What perspective does that give you as an athletic director now? What's something you take from your playing days and bring to your days as an administrator?
Yeah, I think about it every day. And, first you mentioned earlier, as a student athlete, I remember, my junior year we were picked towards the bottom of the ACC. And I remember that feeling of, hey, outside world, nobody thinks we can play at this level or compete against the quote-unquote titans of the ACC at the time. And we're able to win the ACC championship. So I think that taught me that's the beauty of sport. That's the beauty why we play the games. Anybody can win on any given day. So a lot of it I look at as, look, we're always going to have a windshield mentality of that the best is going to come for us, that we have hope, that we have belief in each other, that if we work hard and work together. And I think that's one of the things that Wake really taught me was you can't cheat hard work. Like you got to show up every day. You got to have a great set of standards, and you got to do little things and get masterful at doing the little things right, and then the outcomes will take care of itself. So that's something that I think about every day. It's just there's never, a moment of complacency. There's never a moment of we've arrived. It's every day how can we use the talents and the gifts that we've been given to get a little bit better. And most importantly, not just us personally getting better, but helping others around us get better. And I think that's where really magic happens. And as I continue to reflect on my time as a student athlete, I know that's what happened for us my junior year there when we were able to, again, start at the bottom and then go to Orange Bowl. And unfortunately, we lost the Orange Bowl, but we had a heck of a time winning the ACC championship.
Zac, we got about 90 seconds before the commercial here, and then we'll come back for the next segment. But normally, an athletic director, we think the first thing is coaching, hiring, and firing. That may be your most important role. You have 3 first-year coaches, and then you have a national championship baseball coach from just a couple of years ago. How important is to have that kind of stability for you to implement your vision, knowing I don't have to worry about hiring and firing? Like I said, we got about 60 seconds left.
Yeah, great. That's a great question. It starts with, I think, relationships. It doesn't matter, partnerships with each head coach. And, recently coming from Oklahoma, we had a handful of coaching transitions, whether it's in football or both basketball. So I think as a first year, second year head coach, you always got to look at building the foundation of the program, the non-negotiables. My dad had a construction company, and I learned early on that, if you don't get the foundation right, you're not going to get anything right. So I think for all of our coaches, specifically our new ones, that's one of the things we're really going to work together on is how do we lay a great foundation. And clearly for Coach Lamonis, how do we continue, been at programs where winning is great and you get to the top, but staying at the top is the hardest thing to do and make it sustainable. So I think my job is to continue to help remove as many obstacles as we can and how we can continue to bring people together and, again, achieve at the highest levels, because Coach Lamonis and others know we can get there.
All right, Zach, we'll be...
So why was it so important for you to teach me hunting safety at such a young age?
Well, first of all, I love you, and I want you to come back home just like you left the door when you came out. And secondly, I want us to have a good time and remember those good times.
Stay safe. Download our Hunter Safety Card at mdrs.ms.gov.
Whether you're brand new to the DIY craze or a seasoned veteran, the Handyman Show has something for you. Buddy Slowick shares tips and tricks on everything from odd jobs to complete build-outs, from small home repairs to serious construction. So no matter if you're at the master carpenter level or not quite sure how to use a level, the Handyman Show answers your questions with a healthy dose of humor and some great music too. Saturdays, 10 to noon on SuperTalk Mississippi and on SuperTalk TV.
This is Cali. With C Spire's blazing fast nationwide 5G network, she's got her fans in the palm of her hands. Live streaming her Mississippi blues from her phone wherever she is, to out there wherever they are. Right now, get up to $1,000 off our hottest 5G phones with trade-in. Welcome to C Spire Country.
Get the news that matters to Mississippi on Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Each weekday starting at 10 a.m., Gerard brings you a spirited debate on the key stories of the day with the newsmakers and powerful reporting on the issues you care about. Listen on your local SuperTalk station or anywhere you get SuperTalk Mississippi. And watch the show live on C Spire Channel 70, SuperTalk TV, and on the SuperTalk Mississippi app. When it comes to the outdoors, we are one. We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the great outdoors. So let's talk about it. Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews. Mondays starting at noon. Here on Super Talk Mississippi. Presented by the Foundation Protecting Our Outdoors Heritage. Listen or watch the show anywhere you get Super Talk Mississippi. Your number one for Sports Talk.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Come on, don't be shy.
Sports Talk Mississippi.
Bingo, man, bingo.
Super Talk Mississippi.
I don't know if Borky meant to go Led Zeppelin all day today. I'll have to ask him when we come back. But it's working for me, Michael. Very good. Sports Talk Mississippi. Brian Haydad, Michael Borky here with you on a Friday. Richard Cross is just off today, which is fantastic news because nobody wanted to talk to him anyway. Least of all, our guest here on the Farm Bureau guest line, Zac Selmon, the Mississippi State Athletic Director. Zach, I saw last night that you were in Oxford for Mississippi State's women's game against Ole Miss in the pavilion. I saw a picture of you talking with Ole Miss athletic director Keith Carter. Was he terribly upset that he is no longer the tallest athletic director in the conference?
That's a great question. We talked about a lot of things, and Keith's been a great friend for a long time, but we didn't talk about that. But that's a great question. I'll see him in New Orleans next week, so I'll have to bring that up to him.
Make sure you tell him that I said it too. Make sure that he knows that came from me, and I would appreciate that. Well, if you can, as much as you can. And I don't want to go too far down the private conversation route, but what did you guys talk about there?
No, it was just catching up. I haven't seen him in person in some time, so just talked to him about the arena, and I haven't stepped foot in that arena before. I've been on campus there a handful of times, but just talked a little bit about their project, and also talked about some things that we look forward to doing next week. We have SEC AD meetings in New Orleans, I think Monday of next week. So just a quick catch up. But, Keith's been a great friend and really appreciate the partnerships that we'll have with both institutions.
Among the fraternity of SEC athletic directors, who else do you have some prior connections or previous relationships with?
Yeah, I've got quite a few. Clearly Josh Brooks has been a great colleague and a great friend, and have known Greg and also know Scott very well. And then clearly the two new ADs that are coming into the league, and Joe Castiglione and Chris Del Conte, I've worked with closely and know them both very well. So Ross Bjork has been somebody that my old boss at Oklahoma, Joe Castiglione, has mentored over the years, so know Ross very well. So that's one of the things that really felt good or added bonus to this position at Mississippi State is just my familiarity and friendships with so many of the ADs in this league already.
You kind of broached the topic there of Oklahoma and Texas entering into the SEC. Let's start with the Oklahoma side of that, because you would have been there when those discussions were going on. How did that come into being? What were the driving factors? Obviously, money's one of them, but for Oklahoma and Texas to want to leave the Big 12 for the SEC.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you mentioned earlier, a word, is just stability. And I think that's something that we all look for our institutions, is stability long term. And I know there's no guarantees or nothing that's definitive, but you always look for what's the most stable place to be for our institution, for our students, for our student athletes, for our alums. And I think both Oklahoma and Texas saw that the SEC was the most stable place, and the place that they aligned with and made a lot of sense for them, both competitively, financially, educationally. But it's been a really good process for me. I've been on part of, prior to coming to Mississippi State, part of our SEC transition planning team. So learned a lot about kind of peeling back the onion, if you will, of the nuts and bolts of our league. And so coming here really helped give me the confidence, and also helped with a lot of perspective that I wouldn't have had if we hadn't been studying so in depth over the last 18 months.
Do you have a preference? Because, I don't know when they're going to be here, 2024, 2025, but the football schedules are going to change dramatically for the SEC when that happens. As Mississippi State's athletic director now, do you have a preference for how you'd like those schedules to look?
No, I think just from a high level, I think we all want balance in our schedule. We know the quality of teams week in and week out in our league. So I think balance. I love college sports. I love the rivalries. So I want to make sure that we continue to make sure we preserve the great rivalries, and also make sure we give our student athletes and their parents enough opportunities to get and watch their kids play. So those are some of the kind of the guiding principles. And I know with a path to an expanded playoff, I want to make sure that we continue to put all of our teams in positions. And the SEC has been dominant clearly in the national championship game, but love a path where more SEC teams can get into a playoff setting and then see what happens from there.
When we look at your resume at Oklahoma, the two things that stood out that you were a champion for were fundraising and fan engagement. And you have to feel those two things are very, very closely linked together. As fans feel more engaged by their university, the more likely they are to donate to that university. What are the keys of that for you? How do you engage fans and then turn them into, fundraising, the fundraising arm of the university?
Yeah, I think just takes time. It takes time, and it takes time to get to know people. And that's one of the things that it's kind of like drinking through a fire hose all week of, not only figuring out which I have to GPS just where to find a different building on campus or where I'm staying, and then get to learn people within the department and learn coaches and student athletes. And then clearly with fans and donors, it takes time. And that's one of the things that I'm excited about here is just be able to make a lot more personal relationships. What we do is in fundraising or fan engagement isn't rocket science, but a lot of it is listening and figuring out what is it. I think each institution is different, but what is it that the fans want to do here? How do they like to engage? What do they like to do? How do they like to view the sports? And on the fundraising side, just learning about what opportunities we have. I think every fundraising operation is a little different, whether it's how we approach our scholarships here, how we can partner with the institution on fundraising campaigns. So a lot of it's listening and learning that I'll have to continue to do. But I know both fan engagement and fundraising, the approach I've always taken is one, treat people right and build deep and authentic relationships. And the people that I've met this week just being on campus have been fantastic, whether it's here or in Tuscaloosa. We had a great group of people there on Wednesday night, I believe it was, and met some new people in Oxford. And clearly, you see great donors, and unfortunately just got back from Tupelo. One of our great donors passed away, Hassel Franklin, and you're in a room with people that genuinely love and care Mississippi State. And that's one of the things that, again, excites me the most is how important, how passionate our stakeholders are, because there truly is a lot of special things going on campus right now.
And, of course, speaking of fundraising these days, it's not just about what the university is doing, but it's about NIL. You talked about NIL in your opening press conference. As an athletic director, what beyond talking about it, what can you do for NIL at your university?
Yeah, I think it's just to educate people that it's here, and NIL is something that we all have to embrace. We all have to figure out what's the right thing for Mississippi State, what's the best way for our student athletes to maximize off their NIL. So I think, again, it's something that's new. It's something that's a change. I never thought probably 10 years ago this is what NIL would look like, but this is what it is. And then kind of more forward thinking, I know it's very easy to complain or criticize where we're at. So I think it's on our jobs as leaders of a conference, and clearly the SEC leading nationally, what can we do working with our partnerships to make sure that we get better with some of the operations that go along with it right now. But I think for the short term, it's how can we embrace it, and it takes everybody. And truly, it's too important for the success of our coaches not to. So I think that's kind of my clear message of, look, whatever we can do, let's support NIL, let's support what we're doing for our kids.
At Oklahoma, they had a fantastic baseball season last year. We're just a few days away from first pitch. Finished number 2 in the nation, national runner-up. I don't remember who they lost to in the College World Series, and that's not important. But now you're Mississippi State where college baseball.
From my memory too.
You and me both, Zach. You and me both. Now you're at Mississippi State where college baseball is a huge thing. Did you consider that now in the NCAA you are one of the 2 or 3 biggest advocates of college baseball in the entire organization?
Yeah, take that as a great responsibility and a great opportunity. I'm actually staying in one of the lofts right now, and it's incredible. I remember calling and FaceTiming my wife right as I got here. It was late Sunday night, and again, you can hear it, you can read about it, but until you experience it, and I still haven't experienced this, my first game, but have met with Coach Lamonis this week and just saw him again this morning. So I take it with great responsibility, great pride to make sure that we do everything we can to not only preserve what we're doing here, but continue to preserve and advance the entire game of baseball.
Zach, one thing that I know for sure with you, coming from Oklahoma, is whenever State hires new people, I always have the food down here is so great. You're at least going to be used to the Southern way of eating. So I do not expect you to be like, some former hires and put on 30, 40 pounds in the first 6 months here. Is that going to be – that shouldn't be an issue for you, should it?
No, I hope not. But I do kind of like my clothes a little bit like you're going to Thanksgiving. Have a little stretch.
Zach, you're a man after my own heart. I appreciate this very much. Zac Selmon, Mississippi State Athletic Director, thank you so much for all the time today. Looking forward to talking to you again very soon in the future.
Brian, thanks, man. Hail State.